am Carrie Van Ice here at Get Your Vibe Right, and I am a certified energy practitioner and a mindset coach. And one of the things I love to talk about here at Get Your Vibe Right is how our thoughts and our feelings create our reality. And I'm currently reading a book, and there's a phrase that keeps showing up over and over and over again. And so you know it's important, right? So we're going to talk about it. That phrase is, your actions will always follow your dominant intent. And I think when people hear that, they're kind of like, okay, maybe I get that. We don't really talk in those terms. So what does that mean? Well, we're doers, right? We're always taking an action every single day. From the time you get out of bed until the time you go to bed, we are action takers. We're always taking an action. But oftentimes, our actions aren't in alignment with what we really want, the changes we want to see in our life, right? I know that almost everybody has wanted to change a habit, has wanted to change something about their lives, wanted to do something differently, and struggled to do it because they just couldn't do it. They just kept going back to their old habits, their old way of being. And they couldn't overcome that to really change and get a different outcome. And this is exactly why. So your actions will always follow your dominant intent. And dominant is the key word there. Because when we are trying to change a habit, we have to make the new thing the dominant thing. And it's not always easy to do because we have years and years, decades of doing things the old way. And so in order to take a new action, you have to make the new desire or the new habit the dominant thing. It has to override the default setting, because you've got decades of doing things the way you've always done them. And I can completely relate to this. I have at many times in my life wanted to start a new workout program, get up earlier, change my diet, and I just have struggled and struggled and struggled to do it. And this idea of your actions will always follow your dominant beliefs or your dominant intent is that it's a good thing. It's a really, really good thing. But you have to make the new thing the dominant intent. And that takes some work, right? It's not the default setting just because we wish we could do it, just because we decide, okay, yep, I'm totally going to start getting up early and working out. It's easy peasy, done. I make one decision and all of a sudden it's going to happen. It doesn't happen that way. It has to override the old. So how do we make that change? Intent. That is the other key word in this statement. Intention. We have to become people who take action with intention. Because if you are not deciding ahead of time with intention what your action is, or what outcome you want to have, one of two things is going to happen. We've already talked about the first one. The default setting is going to kick in and we're going to follow that path. Or if we haven't decided ahead of time with intention what we're going to do, somebody will influence us into what they want us to do. And I know you've also had this experience as well many times in your life. Because we aren't intentional, we just kind of go with the flow of whatever's happening. And the flow of whatever's happening is either my old habits, my old way of being, or it's being influenced by somebody else. Hey, I'm going to do this. Come along, or I want you to do this. Do it. And maybe it goes against what you want to do, but they're influencing you. They're taking advantage of that because you haven't set the intent. So really being intentional about what you want to do. First of all, this is hard, guys. I've tried doing this. I'm still in the process of getting this right on a daily basis. being intentional with every new stage of my life, every new stage of my day. Even once I get out of bed, what is my intent in the next half an hour? What is my major intent for the day? How do I want to feel when I go to bed? That gets you in the habit of being more intentional. That's a really great thing, being more intentional. Then over time, this idea of changing habits is going to be easier and easier. But for now, if you're struggling with this is not going to be new information. I know you've heard this before. If it's your intention to get up and go to the gym tomorrow morning, you need to set that intention the night before. You got to get out your gym shoes, put out everything you're going to wear, get your water bottle ready, put it all in your backpack, make it easy for yourself to get out the door. And when you wake up, if you normally lay in bed and don't get out of bed right away, the first thought you need to have is, it is my intention to get up and go to the gym. Constantly reminding yourself, that's how you make the new setting the dominant setting, the new intent, the dominant intent, and your actions will follow that. It is the way that it is. It is the law that that's going to happen. But if you're not seeing the change that you want to see in your life, here's the hard thing. You got to take a hard look at what's not going right in your life and admit to yourself that what you want is not actually your dominant intent. Because if it were, you would be taking actions to move towards it. And if you're not, it means that your dominant intent is something other than what it is you want. And that's where you can start doing some work. That's where you can start changing. Even just recognizing that is going to help you be more intentional about moving the needle on what it is you want to see change in your life. So that is your takeaway from this one. I told you I always want to make these actionable. The action is, look at your life and figure out where you want to be making changes and you're not. And figure out what your dominant intent is. Raise your awareness on that. Then sit down and say, what is it that I want to change? And start reminding yourself, my intent is. It's my intention to. I'm going to. Before you take the action so that you can create that as the new dominant setting.